these mini lamb chops marinating so that we can cook them tomorrow. This is avocado oil, balsamic vinegar, Dijon mustard, lemon, oregano, rosemary, thyme, garlic, and seasoning. That's what's in here. This is a plastic container, so I'm just gonna pour this marinade over this, cover it, and let it sit in the refrigerator until tomorrow afternoon when I'm ready to cook. Hi friends, tonight for dinner we're gonna have pasta salad. We're gonna have some bulgur wheat that needs to be used up, and I'm gonna cook these little lamb chops. Originally I had purchased this as an appetizer for my husband because he's the main one that likes lamb, but since we're finishing up the end of this pantry challenge and I'm trying to use everything and stretch everything, we're gonna do something a little bit different. There's 5 of us in the family. There's only 4 little mini lamb chops. I will happily skip out and not partake because lamb is not my favorite. But in addition to this, I have 5 eggs. I don't know if I'm gonna soft boil them because I think that would go well with pasta salad, or if I'm gonna soft fry them because that would go good with the bulgur wheat. So we're gonna have bulgur wheat, pasta salad, and the lamb chops with the egg on the side. The lamb chops I'm gonna air fry at 400 for 6 to 8 minutes. These are on the smaller side, so I would say probably 6 minutes. Then broil them in the air fryer for about 4 minutes. So probably 10 minutes total cook time. My husband prefers these medium rare, which is an internal temperature of 145. So that's what we're gonna aim for. They have sat in the refrigerator overnight. They marinated in oils and herbs and seasonings. Now I'm gonna season them with Montreal steak seasoning and thyme. Now for the bulgur wheat, I'm gonna cook this in the rice cooker. I'm gonna do 2 cups of this bulgur wheat and 3 cups of homemade chicken broth. This wheat is gonna be rinsed, and then to the pot I'm gonna add a dash of salt and a dash of avocado oil or olive oil. And then the important thing with bulgur wheat is just to let it sit and rest for about 10 minutes after it's done before you serve. Now for the pasta salad, I'm gonna use this chickpea rotini that needs to be used up. I have the rest of these olives that need to be used. I have some freeze-dried tomatoes, which wouldn't be my first choice, but I happily use what I have. A stalk of celery, a little bit of pepperoni left from our pizza bagels, a little bit of purple onion. This is the feta that we had in the fridge. This is what we have left, so we're gonna use the feta. A little bit of Olive Garden Italian salad dressing. And then in addition to that, garlic extra virgin olive oil, a little bit of hemp seed oil, a little bit of red wine vinegar, some chili, some Cajun seasoning, and then I'm gonna top it with a little bit of Parmesan cheese, some fresh parsley, and some fresh basil. Pasta salad gets better as it sits. If there's any leftover, it'll sit in the refrigerator. We'll eat it tomorrow and it'll be even better. For the dressing for the pasta salad, I don't use measurements. I go by taste most of the time. So far in the bowl, I have the extra virgin olive oil and with garlic. This is a large Pyrex bowl, and that's how much I put. To that, I'm gonna add the red wine vinegar. This is probably about 2 or 3 tablespoons. I'm gonna add some hemp seed oil just because I have it in the fridge. I'm gonna add Olive Garden Italian salad dressing. You could use Italian seasoning, or I mean, you can use all kinds of things. I'm gonna add the chili flakes, give it a little stir. Now I'm gonna add some seasoning. This is about a half a cup full of the Montreal steak seasoning. Now I'm gonna give this a stir, and then I'm gonna add freeze-dried tomatoes so that they could reconstitute in this oil instead of reconstituting in water. I thought I was gonna just break up a few and they were gonna be able to reconstitute in the oil, but as I started to pour them in a bowl, most of the little cherry tomatoes is what was coming out, so I thought, hey, that's even better. I don't even have to break them up. So I'll give this a stir, and then I'll let this sit a while. After this sits a few minutes, I'll probably chop up the onion and add the onion in here as well so it could kind of marinate in this oil while we boil the pasta. I've added the purple onion. Next, we're gonna add about 3/4 of a teaspoon of homemade Cajun seasoning. Give it a stir. Now we're gonna add our olives. And while the pasta is still boiling, I'm gonna cut up the celery and the pepperoni, and I'm gonna add that as well. I just found this leftover garlic in the fridge from when my daughter-in-law made the pork belly. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the rest of this. So we cut the pepperoni, and now I'm gonna add the pasta and the cheese. And then right before I serve, I'm gonna mix in the parsley and the basil. I wanted to show you how much cheese I used and how much cheese I have left. Now I did break up quite a bit of the feta and I stirred it in. The issue with that is as I stirred it in, you don't see the chunks of white anymore. So I went ahead and I sprinkled a little bit more feta on top just for the presentation. And this is what we have left. I'm gonna put this back in the fridge and we'll find something else to do with it. And then the cheese, I only used very little bit. I'm gonna use all of this for the salad, but I think I'm gonna pick some more parsley to serve with the lamb. I got it plated up and I wanted to show you the two different plates. This is my plate. I'm the one that's not having the lamb. So I took my fried egg and I just put it on top of the bulgur wheat. This is my husband's plate. He is having the lamb and this is how they're eating theirs. I do not feel like I'm missing out on anything. Number one, it's not my favorite. And number two, this looks absolutely delicious. Sometimes you may not have enough of everything to feed everybody, but you could still make each person's plate look special. So let's go ahead and give it a taste. Pasta salad can be served warm or cold. This is so good. Mix it all up. How about that? So a big thumbs up. It's very good. Bulgur wheat, it tastes like rice, but it's the texture of oatmeal, if that makes sense. Give it a try, especially if you ever find it on clearance. You could cook it like rice. Hey friends, we're making a treat. We're gonna use up a box of these graham crackers. We are gonna make a recipe from Whiskey Woman Whisk. This is something that I've never made before. I saw it on her channel and I was very intrigued, and I have all these extra graham crackers. I'm gonna try to figure out how to link her channel, or at least I'll put her information. She demonstrates how to do this with the recipe, so I'm not gonna do that. And she uses bourbon, and I'm gonna use this banana pudding sipping cream instead of the bourbon. Basically, graham crackers, butter, brown sugar, pecans, a pinch of salt, and bourbon, or in my case, I'm gonna use sipping cream. Line up all the graham crackers on parchment paper, put pecans on them, make the sauce on the stove, bring it to a hard boil, and then pour it on top, bake in the oven at 350 for 10 minutes. They've had a chance to cool, and then this is what they look like plated up. So let's go ahead and give one a taste. This is what the back looks like. This is pretty good. Thank you, Whiskey Woman Whisk. This week for breakfast, we're gonna have chia seed pudding and basil seed pudding. This is what I'm gonna use to make the chia seed pudding. I'm gonna use chia seeds, coconut milk. This is almond milk, and it has dates in it. Dates have been sitting in it for the past 24 hours so that they can soften. I'm gonna use the dates as a sweetener. I'm gonna put this in the Vitamix first and blend it all together. We're gonna put a touch of vanilla, a touch of salt, and cinnamon. I'm gonna make a very basic recipe, and then during the week, we're gonna top it with nuts and some of these mandarin oranges, some of these freeze-dried berries, or this cocoa almond spread, and cocoa nibs with coconut sugar. I'm gonna make a double batch. This is 6 dates, and that's what I'm gonna use as the sweetener. You can use maple syrup or honey, or you use the sweetener of your choice. If you do not like the texture of chia seeds, go ahead and add the seeds with your dates and your milk and blend it all together. It's gonna pop the seeds and change the texture. That's for people who don't like the gelatinous form of the chia seeds. All right, friends, I'm also gonna make this basil seed pudding. I first learned about basil seeds from Dr. Gundry. Basil seeds do not have lectins, so I personally eat the basil more than the chia seeds. They taste pretty similar and they're kind of interchangeable. For this one, I'm not gonna use any sweetener at all. I'm just gonna use the coconut milk, some salt, a splash of vanilla, and some cinnamon. It's just an alternative, and if you're looking for something that doesn't have the lectins, this is what the dates look like after they've been blended up in the nut milk. So it does change the color, but it adds a wonderful natural sweetness. Here's a look at breakfast. Today is chia seed pudding. I left it pretty basic. I just added a little bit more cinnamon and some pecans. This is the texture, pretty thick on the spoon. If you don't like the gelatinous texture of chia seed, you can put them in a blender and blend them with the milk and the dates, and then it changes the texture completely. I could eat this every day. I try not to because of the lectins, but it's a wonderful treat every now and then. This morning for breakfast, I'm having the basil seed pudding, and this time I'll put cocoa powder and some of the chocolate covered cocoa nibs on top. This one is a little thinner. Let me taste it. They taste very, very similar. Equally delicious. The basil seeds are a little bit more expensive than the chia seeds, but they don't have the lectins. I like both of them equally. They're so delicious. Cool and refreshing. I love this in the spring and the summer. The wild caught shrimp that we had from Costco has been peeled. These are like prawns, they're giant shrimp. I don't have very many of them, but that's what was in that bag in the freezer that I want to use up. And I also want to use up some of the mandarin oranges. We're gonna make a stir fry tomorrow with the shrimp and the oranges. But I want to go ahead and get the shrimp marinating in this mandarin orange juice and some salt, pepper, and garlic seasoning. Tonight for dinner, we're gonna have shrimp stir fry. One of the things that's great about stir fry is it can be made so many different ways. You just use whatever you have. Tonight's stir fry was inspired by the shrimp that needs to be used up, the mandarin oranges, and these crispy noodles. And I have 2 packs of noodles that's open, 2 half-a-packs. I'm gonna mix them. This is not very much shrimp, but they're large. I don't typically do what I'm about to do, but in a situation like tonight, it's gonna work out perfect. I'm gonna cut these up so that way there'll be more bites as we eat the stir fry, and we're gonna make do. Now this was marinated in the mandarin orange juice, and I am gonna use that as a base for the sauce. To that, I'm gonna add coconut amino, some sesame oil, some chili crisp, a little bit of Korean chili sauce, jalapeno chili powder, and a little bit of my fermented garlic honey with a little bit of brown sugar. I'm gonna use a little bit of cornstarch to thicken it up if needed. At the very end, I'm gonna add a little bit of fresh ginger, black sesame seed, and then we're gonna garnish, only because I have this, there's just a little bit left that I'm trying to use up, this mango sesame walnut dressing, and garnish with freeze-dried cilantro. Typically, stir fry, you do not use frozen vegetables because it will not be crispy. I don't expect our stir fry to be crispy. I'm using 6 cloves of frozen garlic. We're also gonna top with some of this crispy noodles. So we have red bell pepper, green beans, mandarin orange, a little bit of onion, and the shrimp. Stir fry is super fast and easy. It's gonna be ready in 25 minutes. It's best to soak this pasta in cold water for about 5 minutes and then boil it for about 5 minutes. This one's gonna boil for about 5 minutes. And I'm gonna soak this one and then I'll just boil these 2 together. I wanted to correct myself. I said that you cannot get the vegetables crunchy if they're frozen, and you can. It's just more work. It's not easy, but I decided to go ahead and get some of the green beans crispy, cook them on high heat, and just barely warm them. This is what the shrimp looks like with the peppers. You don't want to overcook them, so I'm going to cook them for a minute, then I'm going to take them out, and if they're not cooked all the way through, they'll finish cooking with the sauce. Once my sauce is the desired consistency and taste, then you can go ahead and add your noodles. So the noodles will soak up all the sauce, and then we're gonna add everything else and give it one last toss. I tasted it, it's fantastic. This is the thickness that I'm going for. Dinner is served. It smells amazing. Everyone else is going to top their plates with more of these crispy noodles. I personally don't care for stuff like that, so I did just a touch. I decided not to use the black sesame seeds or the mango dressing on the top because it's not necessary. I did, however, take just a touch of cilantro, but let's give this a taste. And I know we put 2 different types of noodles together and you can't even tell. Maybe it's not a good idea for me to try to take a bite of noodles on. This is just like being at a restaurant. It's at home. So much cheaper, so much better. In the comfort of your own home with your loved ones. This is another quick and easy fast meal. It was ready in 20-25 minutes. For dinner tonight, we're gonna have some garlic flatbread with pancetta and a little bit of chicken that we had left from the quesadillas, some purple onion. This is a garlic and herb feta. This is what we're gonna use as a base for the flatbread, and a variety of different cheeses that I wanna get rid of. We are a family of 5 and there's only 4 flatbreads in here. 2 of us can only eat half, so it'll work out perfectly. And we're also gonna have a side salad made with turnip greens. If anyone's curious, pancetta is basically bacon that has not been smoked. I am gonna pan fry this and then layer them and put them in the air fryer. I really like to get these dips whenever I see them on clearance for so cheap, and I put them in freezer because you can do so many things with this. It's gonna make a great pizza, but it would also be good with chicken, shrimp, limitless possibilities, a great time saver, served warm or cold, and they're delicious. All the different flavors I've tried, especially by this brand, Stone Mill. Our dinner tonight is served. We have chicken and pancetta flatbread. Tonight for dinner, we are gonna have beef and broccoli stir fry. We're gonna use these 2 packs of cubed roast beef. I know earlier in the challenge, we used the first 2 for stroganoff in the Instapot. Now we're gonna use these 2 with the broccolini or the baby broccoli. We have some of these crispy noodles left. We're gonna put this on the top. Sauce, it's gonna be quick and simple. Cornstarch, brown sugar, and some type of soy or coconut amino, sesame oil, and chili. Some kind of chili powder, chili flakes. That's like my go-to with ginger and garlic. My fermented garlic honey, I like to put that in almost everything. You can use water in this, like a half a cup or a cup of water, whatever you want to make the sauce. But I'm gonna use this soy ginger chicken broth, and that's because this is one of the items that needs to be used up, and this is already pre-cooked. We're gonna heat it up, but we're not gonna keep it in the pot long enough to make a beef sauce. So I thought that this might be complementary to this already pre-cooked cubed roast beef. So we're gonna throw all this together. It's gonna take about 15 minutes, and we're gonna serve over white rice. It's gonna take the longest to cook the rice. I make my sauce by eye, but there's a general guideline I follow. This I know holds about 3 tablespoons. So I have about 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. So I'm gonna put double soy sauce for the amount of brown sugar. So if I put 2 spoons of brown sugar, you put 4 spoons of soy sauce or coconut amino. This is about 3, so I'm gonna put about 6 tablespoons of soy sauce. I'm gonna try to finish off this bottle. If I don't have enough, I'll grab the coconut amino. Just a splash of sesame oil, a splash of the fermented garlic honey, and then whatever this is, I put half of this. So if this is about 3 tablespoons, then I put about 1.5 tablespoons of cornstarch. Spice is according to whatever you want. Now for the liquid, I always do at least a half a cup, and depending on the meat and depending on how much sauce I need. It's just according to your own taste preference and what you have. And here it is, all plated up. Beef and broccoli with black sesame seeds and the rest of those crispy noodles. Let's take a bite. I got a taste tester tonight.
Very good. Sweet
It's
and
good.
savory.
Sweet and savory. Yummy. Hi friends, welcome back. Tonight for dinner we're gonna have a hash brown casserole. Quick and easy. I already have the oven preheating. Open them up, fill them up with hot boiling water and let them sit for 5 minutes or so. Pour them in a big strainer, and to that I'm gonna add Cajun seasoning, probably about a tablespoon. Usually my preference would be sour cream. I don't have sour cream, so I'm gonna substitute cream cheese. So this is not full, but it's about 3/4 of the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this in place of sour cream. And then I'm gonna use onion soup mix because I had 1 pack left that I needed to use. I have 1 more box of this portobello creamy mushroom soup. This is 4 cups. I'm probably only gonna use half of this. Put everything in a bowl and I mix it all up. We'll shred the cheese. Now this is the rest of that ham roast that needs to be used up. So it's basically gonna be ham, cheese, and potato casserole in hash brown form. I've melted the butter and the cream cheese, and I mixed in onion soup mix and the seasonings. I wanted to show you before I do anything else. Now I'm gonna add some of the mushroom soup. I'm gonna cut up the ham and add the ham. We'll add cheese and then we'll fold in the potatoes last. We just put the ham in the bowl, and I decided that I want some green color contrast in here. So I'm gonna add probably about a capful of parsley, and I ended up using about a half of this, so 2 cups. I'm not even gonna measure, I'm just gonna pour like this. It's seasoned well. I like to season it heavily before I add all of the heavy stuff. Like if I'm folding in rice in a casserole, or in this case it's potatoes, it's gonna be too hard to stir. So I like to season the sauce before we add all the other stuff. I like this color better with the green in here, the contrast, and I think it's gonna help break up all that white from the potatoes. So now I'm gonna go ahead and add the cheese and then stir in the potatoes and then get it in the oven. I did oil the bottom of my pan really well with avocado oil. I do not reserve more cheese to put on the top. I just put all the cheese in it. I'm gonna top with a little bit of smoked paprika for color. Just pulled the hash brown casserole out of the oven. We're gonna let it cool a little bit and then we'll serve. This is dinner tonight, all plated up. Our hash brown casserole. Let's give it a taste. This is yummy. I thought about serving it with sauerkraut, then I decided I wanted it plain as it is. Easy, good stuff. Great for dinner tonight. It would also be great for breakfast. Tonight for dinner, we're gonna have chicken marsala. We are finishing up the stuff in the pantry. We are gonna serve it over these brown rice noodles. To coat the chicken, I am gonna use this mayonnaise, and I'm gonna season them really well, and then I'm gonna coat them in panko breadcrumbs. We're gonna pan fry them, and then I'll take them out and I'll make the sauce. I'm gonna use a little bit of this leftover chicken broth, some mushrooms, a little bit of this portobello mushroom creamy soup, a little bit of red wine, some Cajun seasonings, thyme, some whipping cream, and butter. There will be a little bit of butter in this as well. After the sauce is thickened, I do want to use up this 1 can of asparagus. Tonight's dinner all plated up, chicken marsala with the asparagus. Now I did not add the asparagus to the pasta or to the chicken and sauce because it was very, very tender and it would have all fallen apart. So instead I just steamed it and seasoned it and added it to the plate. We are wrapping up week 10. It's been such a wonderful blessing. I'm so happy I did it. And it's time to wrap it up. This is how much avocado oil I have left. It's time to go to the grocery store. All right, let's take a bite. I've never had this with this type of pasta before. Delicious. I think I prefer this with potatoes or a thicker, wider noodle, but I'm happy to have good food to fill my belly. For dinner tonight, we're gonna have sausage and potatoes or sausage and sweet potatoes, macaroni and cheese. One of the last things that needs to be used up out of the pantry and one of the last things that needs to be used up out of the freezer. Now this is only 4 pieces of sausage and we are a family of 5. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add onions and peppers. Whether you cut it all up and do a sheet pan or you do it on the stove, dinner's still gonna be ready in 30 minutes. Easy peasy. And here is our sausage and potatoes with our mac and cheese. I pan fried this while I made the macaroni and cheese. If I was doing some other side that was not macaroni and cheese, like broccoli or green beans or something else, then I probably would have put it all in a pan and just made a sheet pan meal. Either way, it's very versatile and delicious. Let's see. Super yummy. Potatoes and sausage with onions and bell pepper. Tasty and delicious.